for the Air Force veterans in the audience. Welcome to Cold War Radio, ladies and gentlemen, on our home base live, WAAR. We are America Radio, your number one source for streaming political and government talk anywhere. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. deep down in the bunker in my Smith & Wesson studio in the city of Pittsburgh, and from the Commonwealth of Virginia, let's welcome Jack to the program. Come in, Jack.
Hey, Hutch. Look good here. We're hunkered down. We got another blast of cold, and we're looking for some snow. I'm hoping that the folks here do a little bit better job of snow removal than it looked like you were dealing with up in Pittsburgh over the weekend.
It was out of control. Out of control. Socialist government does not work. Don't let anybody tell you it does. And I have a socialist mayor, and it reflects in the public. Now, I will say that we have the best sanitation engineers. That's the mombacks, the garbage men. They are the finest of any workforce I have ever seen. It does not matter what the weather is or anything. Those guys are reliable. They ought to let them run the rest of the city, is what they ought to do. But anyway, I digress. Please follow me on Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22. A lot of videos on there. Just look for 558, the episode number. Facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22. Make sure you like that page. It's integral to the show. You can catch the show on Roku, Blueberry, YouTube, the405media.com, iHeartRadio, and you can get the Cold War Radio app for free. You can look right on the website, steelcityresistance.com. There's buttons for Android and iPhone if you can't find it on your own. The email is hutch@steelcityresistance.com, and the Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-567-1460. If you'd like to join the program, chat room's up on Spreaker. Go to steelcityresistance.com, catch all the show notes, links, become a Cold War Radio patron. That's always highly welcome, helps us out. Overland Mail, Hutch Bailey Jr., P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania 15226. Now, we're going to CPAC at the end of February, so I would be remiss if I didn't direct you to go to GoFundMe.com/CPAC 2018 WDS. If you haven't yet, we've gone over half of our goal, but we need every nickel of that, I guarantee it. If you'd just like to sponsor the show, PayPal.me/Hutch Bailey Jr. Gets you right in there. Now, let's get to the business at hand. We're going to talk about immigration tonight, but first, some of the headlines, some of the things that are going around, Jack. And apparently, let me get this inside baseball stuff out of the way. There'll be no Cold War Radio on Thursday. I won't be having a show on Thursday, or I won't be on the Wayne Dupree show that night. I'm getting ready to go to my mountain headquarters, and I'm loading out on Thursday, so there you go. Apparently, our president is a very healthy genius, Jack. He smashed medical exam, and the doctor, the White House doctor, stunned the press. I mean, president is in excellent health, just how God made him. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. That's like too much winning. You got to love it. I remember during the campaign. Remember, he had the doctor signed. He is in excellent health. Yeah, they
had the media all come up and talk to him, and he's just like, "Hey, you know."
And the lady comes up and pulls his hair.
Yeah,
I mean, this is too good. I'll tell you, I'm watching these people, and Republicans too. These Republicans are a joke, man. Watching them get all twisted up like a pretzel because he said a country's a shithole that literally, Port-au-Prince, however you say it, in Haiti, has open sewer running out. I mean, it's a shithole.
Well, yeah, and no doubt, considering that, how many billions were donated for the Haiti relief from the earthquake and the hurricane, and how come none of it reached the island?
How come lightning never strikes Hillary Clinton? I mean, she tells so many lies.
It's crazy, and what's worse is you have the president, in a bipartisan effort, invite Democrats as a round table to sit there and try to hash out details on how they can work together and give a little, take a little, and come to some kind of decision on this. And what's the thing that comes out of it? Some of the members of the closed meeting come out and spread dirt on what was said inside that meeting.
And it wasn't even said.
None of that was meant for the public, was it?
No, and it wasn't even said. You've got all these other people saying, no, that's not really what he said.
Yeah, none of that, details of that should have been out there,
Agreed.
At least on that kind. It should have been more of, we're working these things out, we're doing this, that.
Yeah, you can't trust the guy. He's totally untrustworthy. And I mean, Senator Cotton came out and said that he's known for this. You can't say anything around this guy.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the Homeland Security Secretary in front of the Intelligence Committee today, and that's all the Democrats were doing.
I know.
Was pulling the same thing. I mean, isn't a weekend news cycle enough?
And it's important to the Republicans too. I mean, these people are a joke. They are a serious joke. There's not a serious. Well, there are some, but I'll tell you, it's just it's ridiculous, and even more ridiculous. This is going to be fun to watch. I wrote a tweet about this yesterday, Jack. I said, Lordy, I'm loving this, man. This is just too fun to watch. These people and their conniptions. Mueller, I guess, has subpoenaed Steve Bannon, so we'll get to see. You're going to see, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see the difference between a retired military officer and a politician when this guy doesn't give up anything on the president. Even after how he's been treated, he would never dish on the commander-in-chief, ever. And you can mark my words. That's me saying that. I'll eat them. I'll eat the words if he does.
I think who knows? They might be trying to pull the same thing they did on Flynn and Manafort, they did it with Flynn as far as catching him in a Martha Stewart thing.
Well, they might do that. But he'd go to prison before he'd give up the country, I guarantee.
Oh, I have no doubt in my mind about that. I'm still, confused on. I mean, maybe the president and Bannon and all them knew that he was getting ready to be on the hot seat in front of Mueller, and so they just created this separation. It's
possible,
but who knows?
You're right.
There's more evidence out there that leads directly to the left, to the Department of Justice, to the FBI, to the Clinton campaign, than there is anything that points towards President Trump's campaign.
No, you're right, and some of the fallout from this is you're starting to hear details come out about the Las Vegas shooting, and I got something to tell you, FBI. I don't believe a damn thing you say about that or anything else until that house is cleaned. You might as well not say anything, because I don't believe anything you say. And that's directly because of this. Mitch McConnell ignores national reciprocity for the 45th consecutive week, an important thing for someone like me. Well, not so much anymore, but my headquarters of my job is in New Jersey, and I have to go there without my pistol every time I go. I hate it.
Yeah, they always keep that, but then you have, it's funny you mentioned New Jersey, because wasn't it Governor Christie today?
Yeah, with his bump stock, yeah.
Turn in all the bump stocks. You got so many days, otherwise we're coming to get them.
Totally unconstitutional.
Like, wait a minute. Is there a law on that, or what? Is he just outright just demanding it on his own?
He's an idiot. Yeah, I mean, these people, it seems that after presidential runs, they all tell on themselves. I mean, and I'll give you another good example of that. Rand Paul. Rand Paul came out, stood up like a stand-up guy, and told everybody that, you know what, President Trump's not a racist. He paid for my trip to Haiti to get
He funded 2 trips,
right?
For Dr. Paul to go, perform some eye surgeries for needy people in depressed areas.
Haiti and
shitholes. I think another place. Yeah,
it is what it is, man. This is a division.
Haiti really angers me because of we know that after their hurricane and their earthquake that you had the presidents Bush and Clinton on a massive fundraiser And somehow I think the whole divvying up of the funds got turned over to the Clinton Foundation. And I've seen reports as low as 1% of the money went there to 3% that has gone. And it's still, like the president said, it's beyond imaginable. You think of all the people that donated money in goodwill to this foundation to help those people. And what, Chelsea gets a wedding out of it?
Well, yeah, and there was all kinds of people. If you watch Clinton Cash will tell you the details. I mean, they made a lot of money, and so did other people. A cell phone.
Her brother got the gold.
The gold rights
mining.
Let's welcome Ken to the program. Good evening, Ken from Virginia. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, Hutch and Jack?
Ken.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Jack? You were talking about the gun thing earlier. You see, Northam hasn't even been in office for a week, and he's already pushing.
I saw that.
Gun legislation.
It was defeated, though. Your legislature did good.
Down in committee, I believe.
Yeah. So, but you were talking about these places that aren't so great. If anybody's ever been to Djibouti,
it's a nasty place.
Don't go. The place is nasty.
Yeah,
I lucked out. I was the ship I was on with. They pulled in there for fuel for only like 4 hours. Now I just happened to be riding the Stennis at the time, and when I finally got back to the ship, they were like, "Dude, you really did?" I was like, "Oh, they pulled in there," and they were like, "No, you don't understand. You missed out on a good thing there."
Yeah, we had a lot of soldiers there too. I mean, we still do actually, but no place I'd want to be. Man, that's a big oil war there. But
that's a whole other.
Most of these places.
Go ahead,
once
Ken.
you get out of the touristy areas of some of these places, they are. I mean, they keep up where everybody goes to visit. That's always nice. And hey, look, it's the shining city on the hill. But you get 2-3 miles out of the city, and it's just nasty.
I mean, we've got that here too. You go to Atlantic City, and it's like that. A couple blocks off the strip there. It's nasty. But hey, thanks for calling, Ken. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
you
Ken.
bet.
But Kuwait's like that too. There's 2 Kuwaits. You got the Kuwaitis, and then you got all the people that do the work.
Yeah, and when I was talking about the money just for the Haitians, just think about, my whole adult life, we've had movements to help the folks that were suffering in Africa.
Right.
And I know that there's been massive fundraisers, and there's been massive amounts of money spent from taxpayers via U.S. aid or contributions to the United Nations to help the area, and you don't see any results from it. It seems like it's worse and worse. And so
it's their leaders. They're corrupt.
At some point, we got to say, where's this money going?
Right, it's going right to the leaders. I mean, you look, they have gold-plated Jaguars and things, But West Virginia legislators are proposing a bill to require the state schools to offer a Bible elective. I wonder if we're not too far gone for that to work, but it is inspirational to see somebody trying.
Yeah, as far as an elective course, so they can choose. But I think they, to be fair, if they offer that, then they should offer other religious or faith-based or spiritual-based classes that could be chosen as an elective.
Well, I think if
I don't see a problem with that.
I think it's something that we need to differentiate in the country. As far as if you look at the Federalist Papers, and when it talks about the First Amendment as it deals with religion, the religions that are specifically called out, they leave a clause at the end. Now, it's not in the Constitution, but it's in the explanation of the Constitution in the Federalist Papers, and it omits any religion, quote-unquote religion, that would be against the rest of what we're trying to do in this country. And I'm not wording that very well at all, and I'll get the right verbiage. But I don't think, for instance, that Islam would be something that would be acceptable to most Americans. And the reason I say that, one of the reasons, we're going to go into it in this show. There's good in the world and there's evil in the world, and we have to be able to identify it.
That was one of the first challenges for our young country. What was it with President Thomas Jefferson?
Thomas Jefferson. You're right, and that was what what predicated the birth of the United States Marine Corps, because our ships were getting hijacked and they were demanding ransom. And Thomas Jefferson asked his council, "What can we do to get these people to leave us alone? How can we get them to quit hating us?" And his council said, "You'll never get them to quit hating you because we're infidels to them." And he says, where'd you get that? And he said, the Quran. And Thomas Jefferson wanted a Quran, and he got one. And you'll hear people that try to rewrite history say, well, Thomas Jefferson had a Quran. He had a Quran so he could explain to himself his enemy.
Yeah, know your enemy.
And as soon as he did that, they formed the Marine Corps. And we went and we slayed them. And sometimes it comes down to something as common sense as that. When we start getting into, political correctness and things like that, you can get led astray if you don't concentrate on the core objective of survival, for one. That's the number one thing. But anyway...
that's the term leatherneck for the Marines, came from that.
That's exactly right.
Protect them from
getting decapitated. That's right.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. The 45 Colt too. but anyway, the revolver, the naval version. Trump says the Democrats are ready to shut down the government to get amnesty for all. And I have something to say about that. I pray that somebody in the Trump administration is listening tonight. Here's what I would do on that issue right there. I would go on national television or Twitter, it doesn't matter which, and I would say, fine, Dickie Durbin, Chucky Schumer, you want to shut down the government? Fine, shut it down. But I get to choose who gets shut down and who doesn't, because that's the way it is. That's their prerogative for federal workers, federal workforce. And I would say, you know what? We're going to shut the government down. But everybody that we shut down that's non-essential, when the government shutdown is over, I'm not bringing any of them back. They're all going to stay terminated because we don't need them. And I'll cut the government workforce in half if you shut the government down. I'm telling you, I'd do that. And I'd watch them panic.
Hardball. But it
makes sense.
I think that last week's Kumbaya moment where the president had them in there, the cameras in there for an hour, he was being presidential, trying to play nice. And you saw what came out of it the whole weekend with the shithole comment for the country. That's what come out of it. I don't think he even expected anything to be done. So you see the president now, he's like, DACA, the Dems don't want it. They don't want to do anything for it. I've seen plenty of Republicans on the side trying to work something with DACA for these kids, but all of the ones that I've seen talk about it, they said there's no amnesty. It's unfair to anyone that's here legally.
It is.
But we have to come up with a permanent answer to this that will appease both sides and doesn't harm these kids. So they're trying to work this out only on one side. The Dems aren't trying to do nothing but shut down the government.
No, it's all a joke. You're right. You're right. And you know, to say that it's impossible to take off the table returning them to their country baffles me. Why that is impossible is beyond me. I mean, they were fine before they got here. You know, what is so wrong with sending them back to their families? Anyway.
Well, I think as usual, they've lumped everything together. I think they've included the Dreamers, right, from the Bush administration, and now add the kids that Obama illegally did his executive order, and they were coming across in the trains. Those are the ones that are so soon removed from their country. All of them, they should just go back. But a lot of the Dreamers have been here, since Bush was president, and that maybe they've established themselves some way. And as long as they're not criminals, you can do something. I know he had if you served in an enlistment in the military, that was your ticket to being able to get your path to citizenship.
I actually was in a ceremony in Iraq where the ambassador came from Baghdad and gave citizenship to a bunch of military people who were actually in combat. I mean, they were there with their rifles getting citizenship. That's
putting some skin in the game,
right?
You know?
But let's get into this though, and we're going to start at the American thinker. I want to talk about. I think it's time to repeal the disastrous 1965 Immigration Act, and it was passed. A lot of people were involved in it, but prior to this, we used to decide which countries we allowed people to emigrate from. But this is Selwyn Duke, and the question is, if somebody sells you on something with false advertising and it does the exact opposite of what was promised, are you not entitled to return the product and get a refund? In fact, if the product caused you harm, should you not in addition be compensated for the damages? Consider that when Senator Ted Kennedy, Democrat, Massachusetts, the Lion of the Senate, they called him, was pushing the Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1965, Senate Bill 500, on the Senate floor. Let's listen to what he said about this bill.
Under the proposed bill, the present level of immigration remains substantially the same. Secondly, the ethnic mix of this country will not be upset. Contrary to the charges in some quarters, the bill will not inundate America with immigrants from any one country or area, or from the most populated and deprived nations of Africa and Asia. In the final analysis, the ethnic pattern of immigration under the proposed measure is not expected to change as sharply as the critics seem to think. It will not cause American workers to lose their jobs. Our cities will not be flooded with 1 million immigrants annually. The ethnic mix of this country will not be upset. It will not cause American workers to lose their jobs. The bill will not inundate America with immigrants.
So how's that working out? The Migration Policy Institute wrote in 2015, in 1965, whites of European descent constituted 84% of the U.S. population, while Hispanics accounted for 4% and Asians for less than 1%. 50 years later, 62% of the U.S. population is white, 18% is Hispanic, and 6% is Asian. By 2065, just 46% of the United States population will be white. The Hispanic share will rise to 24%. Asians will constitute 14%, and the country will be home to 78 million foreign-born, according to Pew projections. So, whether or not you are for that or against it, it was clearly a lie. Just about anything the Democrats propose, they cannot propose what they want because nobody would elect them. Here's what they want.
Very good, valid point. I totally agree with you. But I also think that we cannot not address what I was just talking about. America, in some ways, is changing.
Yes.
And it's changing in this way is that, and it's the allure of free. It's the allure of, no pressure. It's the allure of government taking care of you. It's worked throughout history. It's worked in Europe. Now, the results are also predictable.
They run out of money.
They run out of other people's money. But that seems to me that has set now in America and maybe majority.
No, you're right. And the two problems with that are, first of all, Teddy Kennedy's 1965 Immigration Act was specifically designed to change the demographics of this nation. I think Mitt Romney would have won last night if he had the same demographics Ronald Reagan had. Since 1965, 85% of our legal immigrants have been from the third world. The Democrats lure them in, get them on government assistance. They are far more recent immigrants are far more likely to be on government assistance than native-born Americans. The second problem with that is once you start down that road, it's harder to take treats away from people than to have them never get on those treats to begin with. But I mean, you look at the demographics of the country, I don't think it's insuperable, because another law of elections is the party out of power tends to really come back big in the midterm elections. So we got to start working for 2014 and planning for the next election.
All right, slow down, Coulter. We just finished an election yesterday. Hang on a second.
So that was the day after Barack Obama won his second term. But boy, was she right about the midterms.
Yeah, that turned around quick. But the 2012 election, it's still, to me, the number one reason why Obama was reelected was because of the whole Benghazi cover-up. Because
I agree. And you have to hold Mitt Romney accountable for that. I mean, it's not like he didn't know about it.
He backed off of it, didn't he?
Absolutely. He was like a coward. I remember watching it on my big screen, because politics is like the NFL to me. So I had a buddy over, and we're partying. I wasn't going to work the next day for this debate. I mean, we were drinking beer, and when that happened, we just both dropped our jaws like the opposing team just scored 20 touchdowns.
That was the Candy Crowley CNN debate. Yep,
it was unbelievable. I wanted to smash my television. I couldn't believe it. But back to the lecture at hand. Since the 1965 Act took effect, 85 to 90% of our immigrants have hailed from the third world. Think about that. Is that what we want, America? Do we want to inundate our country with all of the peoples of the globe? We select the third world to bring into our country in mass. The MPI tells us, compared to almost entirely European immigration under the national origin system prior to 65, flows since 65 have been more than half Latin American and a quarter Asian. I mean, this is something that you don't come back from, and this needs to be thought about. It needs to be talked about. This is something you heard Kennedy. Let's listen to Johnson and how he felt about it.
The president's remarks upon signing the immigration bill on Liberty Island in New York City, October 3rd, 1965.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Ambassador Goldberg, distinguished members of the leadership of the Congress, distinguished governors and mayors, my fellow countrymen. We have called the Congress here this afternoon not only to mark a very historic occasion, but to settle a very old issue that is in dispute.
Put up with a little comedy, ladies and gentlemen.
As to what congressional district does Liberty Island really belong? Congressman Farbstein or Congressman Gallagher? It will be settled by whomever of the two can walk first to the top of the Statue of Liberty. This bill that we will sign today is not a revolutionary bill. It does not affect the lives of millions. It will not reshape the structure of our daily lives or really add importantly to either our wealth or our power. Yet it is still one of the most important acts of this Congress and of this administration. For it does repair a very deep and painful flaw in the fabric of American justice.
All right, I can't listen anymore to this. Basically what he's saying is that we were an evil country for letting people immigrate to the country that were productive, and it just, the whole thing, when you listen to the arguments for immigration from these third world countries, it just, it makes you wonder what the people arguing are thinking about.
Well, the one part that you, at the very end of his little speech, his last quote was basically, "We will be bringing in folks that will be helping, that are skilled, that will be helping our country." And I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds like merit-based immigration. So basically, he just lied about what that bill was going to do in the first place.
And that was the main reason that I made you suffer through it, ladies and gentlemen, is because they haven't changed. This is what Democrats always do. If you know any in your inner circles, as we all do, it's pretty easy to point them out if they will listen. That's the hard part, is getting them to listen. But if you can do that, then you're in pretty good shape. 713, go ahead. You're on the air live.
No, Hutch, I just want to talk about, as far as people, low-income people, I mean, we make it all right. So we're welders, we're AC people or whatever, and we're doing okay. And I think it's the Democratic Party that taxes people too much, and it doesn't really fit us. You know what I mean? As far as making it, and we're living in these cities, and I'm starting to see it more in Texas, which I hate it because it's a red state. So we see a lot of people going more socialist, and it's a little scary. And I guess I don't know how to figure it out, but it's not good for the country. You know what I mean?
I do.
You got a lot of mix.
One of the things that people notice is you have to ask yourself, why do each political party, why do they want this massive influx of people from third world countries, to use a descriptor? Why do they want all these people in here? And it's pretty easy. The Democrats want to create dependent people that they can count on to vote for them in the elections, and Republicans want cheap labor. Now, if you have an individual, I don't care what country they come from, if they come to the United States to assimilate and not join La Raza and not put their nation's flag above ours, and they come here to be productive members of society, you say welders, AC techs, I have no problem with that. But that's not what's coming in.
Yeah, no, I truly understand you. I completely get it. And I don't know, man. I guess maybe it's more tribal. And I don't know how you look at it, because Hispanics, just like, I don't know if it's the same for any other race, look out for your own. And
everybody does
maybe
that.
It's a bad part.
Everybody does that, but white people.
Yeah, look, I'm half white and half Hispanic, so
no problem. So are my kids.
Yeah. So I mean, we can look at it that way, but I'm a Texan, so I stick up for Texans. So
you're
whether you're black, white, or Hispanic, I don't care. So
you're from Texas. What's your name? Let me get you in the system here.
Kenneth. I called before. I called when the flood happened, and
oh yeah, I remember that. I got
and all that.
That was on Wayne's show, but I got you in my system now. So call back anytime, brother.
Oh well, thank you.
All right, Kenneth from Texas, ladies and gentlemen. All right,
yeah, he's the one that called in during. I think they're coming in a cold front down there. And also, remember when the Democrats used to be the party that championed workers like him?
Yeah. All
of the skilled trade workers. It's like the Democrats have just abandoned them all.
Well, they have. They said they did.
Yeah.
Man, we're running out of time. I got to get some of this stuff in here. Let's go to the other side of this. Let's go to the Islamic immigration side of this and talk about Somalia and some of the refugees there. First, let's listen to an interview on the street of some Somalian immigrants. I believe this is taken in Minnesota.
Of this, the Ohio State attacker. He was a Somali refugee. Our next guest is a filmmaker who interviewed Somalis in Minnesota. They told him they wanted to live under Sharia law in a Muslim country. They did not want to assimilate here. Roll that tape.
Do you feel more comfortable living under American law, or do you feel more comfortable living under Sharia law?
Sharia law. I'm a Muslim. I prefer Sharia law. Sharia law, yeah.
Would it be better if we made it illegal in America to make fun of the Prophet Muhammad?
Definitely, yeah.
Do you think we should make a law that makes it illegal to?
That would be better. Yeah, that would be better. Yeah. To stop, aggression.
If you had a choice, would you rather live here or would you rather live in a Muslim country?
I'd rather live in a Muslim country with my people.
Would you prefer to live in America or prefer to live in Somalia?
For me, I think it's Somalia.
You prefer to live in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
Would you rather live in America or live in Somalia?
I would rather live in Somalia.
Wow. The filmmaker.
So you got to wonder, Jack, why did they come here? Who brought them here? If they all want to live in Somalia, why'd you leave?
Here's your ticket.
Yeah, that's Keith Ellison and Al Franken, from Minnesota. It boggles my mind. And with them, 98% of the women in this country that are Somalian
actually care about.
And you wonder how this happens in the United States.
Back in the book segment tonight, Waters World, the dumbest things ever said edition. As you may know, we send Waters all over the country to ask regular folks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In the course of those assignments, many, many, many dubious things have been said to Waters. We asked producer Rob Monaco to select some of the dumbest.
Did you vote?
I have no clue. I don't even know if I did or not.
What has the president done well on the world stage, do you think?
I'm not sure. I guess world peace.
Have you looked around in the newspapers recently? It seems like President Obama is allowing Iran to make these huge bombs.
Yeah.
They look pretty good. Are they real?
Why is the president allowing the Iranians to nuke up?
He basically doesn't want to have a problem with them because he wants that gas. He wants the oil. And, we can't just keep on getting it from Alaska because Alaska only has but so much oil.
What do you think about this whole Ebola controversy?
From where? From where? Holy controversy.
Ebola, here in the United States.
It's nice.
Are you worried about Benghazi?
Isn't he going to be running against her? I don't know.
Ridiculous. That's really dumb.
Is Al-Qaeda a country?
Is Al-Qaeda a country, Corinne?
Hold it, man. He's not bluffing.
You heard about ISIS?
Yeah, that's the Chinese people there.
They're Muslim.
For real?
How would you fight the war on terror?
I wouldn't.
I feel as if we shouldn't really be worrying about our safety, as New Yorkers.
Do you remember 9/11?
Oh my God, I'm totally bugging.
Now, when was Washington president around? What time?
1983.
Why is Lincoln such a great president?
Because he's charismatic. I read the Declaration of Independence.
That wasn't Lincoln. John F. Kennedy. Remember what the F stands for?
Francisco?
Francisco.
Yeah, that's it.
He was Hispanic. Who was president of the United States during World War II?
I think it was Bush. Am I close?
Do you know where Christopher Columbus came from?
Colombia.
This is ridiculous.
All right, you get the point, ladies and gentlemen. We got to work on our kids.
Oh my goodness!
That's how this kind of thing happens, man. I mean,
that was a great way to lighten it up after that deep, dark subject. But oil in Alaska.
Yeah, it's a good one, John Francisco Kennedy. But
Juan San Francisco Kennedy.
I heard one where the guy couldn't answer when was the War of 1812 fought. I mean, it's like, come on, man, you got to do better than that.
Oh, the Ebola? Oh, that's a great thing. What?
Hey, how can people get in touch with you, man? We're out of time. Final comments.
I know you got to get to the chopper. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We love you in the chat chat room. You can find me at Jackapp Mountain at gab.ai. We'll see you next week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks everybody for listening live. Again, No Cold War Radio on Thursday. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. on Facebook, Bird's Eye View on Twitter. Thanks for listening to the podcast, the live show, all that. Thanks for letting us into your life for 1 hour, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go, Rocky. God bless. Heading to the Wayne Dupree Show. Forgot to say that. Coming up next.
Cold War Radio Eagle 1 cleared for takeoff.
Cold War Radio Eagle 1, Baltimore bound man. Destination We Are America Radio Studio. Rocky out.